Hello, in this video tutorial, we will be talking about Unit 4, Activity 1, which contains our biggest and our last assignment of the semester. So if we take a look in the announcement I posted this morning, you'll have your link to Unit 4, Activity 1. I did point out that we only have 3 more weeks in this semester. So this will be the assignment in Unit 4, Activity 1. You'll have 2 weeks to complete it because it's going to be a bit bigger. And it will also be your last assignment before the final exam. So in Unit 4, Activity 1, we're focused on research. And so you're going to learn about the research process. You're going to learn about how to do better online searches using Google. You're going to learn how to cite paraphrases and quotations. You're going to learn how to write a works cited page at the ending of an essay or a research assignment. And you're going to learn to write a 5-paragraph essay. So at the ending of the activity, you're going to complete your own research assignment. It's going to be a 5-paragraph research essay. It is the biggest assignment of the course, and it is going to be worth 10% of your final grade. So your final exam is 20% of your final grade, and this assignment is 10%. You will have pretty much 2 weeks to complete it. And if you want to send me a rough copy of your research essay before you submit it, you can certainly do that. Just make sure you email it to me and mention to me that it is the rough copy and that you would like feedback. If you just submit it to the website along with the email, then I'll assume that you're finished and that it's ready to be graded. Okay. It is a research assignment. You're going to have to find 3 sources for your essay, and you're going to have to, most people, just about everyone probably, is going to find their sources online, which is fine, but you're going to have to show me that you can use your sources correctly and that you can present them correctly in a research essay. So that means a couple of things. That means that aside from quotes from your sources, and you're probably going to have 3 quotes from your sources in your essay, but aside from those quotes, your essay must be written entirely in your own words. Research essay does not mean that you're writing it in somebody else's words. You still have to write it primarily in your own words. And as always, and this is something that some students have been having trouble with, you must type and edit your research essay entirely in one Google Doc. You have to show me that you can type it and edit it on your own. If there's large copies and pastings being done, then I don't know if it's your own words. I have to be able to see that you typed it yourself. Okay, so please make sure that you do that. Remember, I cannot grade an assignment that is not written in your own words or has been copied and pasted into Google Docs. So please, that's very important, especially for this major research assignment. Your research assignment, your 5-paragraph research essay, will be due Monday, June 5th. So that you have pretty much 2 weeks to do it. Well, wait a minute. Is that what did I write that wrong? I meant Friday, June 5th. Okay, I'm going to have to fix that. It should be Friday, June 5th. So you have not this Friday or next Monday. You have till the following Friday to complete that. I'll actually change that right now before I forget. All right. So it is Friday, not Monday, June 5th. All right. So that is your assignment for this week. I'll go into the activity here in a minute and just do a quick overview. But my introduction here does kind of cover everything that I wanted to say today. I would say this, an important note at the bottom here. After completing the research essay, there's only one more assessment left. Assuming that you are done the assignments in Unit 3. There's only one more assignment after the research essay, and that is your final exam. And so your final exam is going to be at St. Michael's in room 106 at 12 noon on Friday, June 12th. I will introduce the format of the exam, and I will provide a course review, and I will give you practice questions by this Friday. So I'll post them on the course website by this Friday so that you can get started. So that will be 2 weeks before the final exam. You'll have the material to start studying. Of course, you'll most likely still be working on your 5-paragraph essay, which is fine. So I probably won't officially unveil and make a big deal about the final exam until next Monday. But if you want a little bit of a head start, you will notice that it's published on the website. The review material will be published on the website by this Friday. So that would be May 29th. I'll publish the exam review material. But just to take a quick closer look at this week's activity, if we click on Unit 4, Activity 1, and I'll make this a little bit bigger, you'll see that it's all about how to conduct research. Your final assignment is showing me that you can do a research essay, so I go over research. We start in Minds On, just to get you thinking. We start with a little video here on the so-called top 10 inventions of all time. And a YouTube channel called Watch Mojo did a listing of what they thought were the 10 most important inventions in human history. And when we say inventions, we mean essentially things that have been created by humans, so things that are not natural. So obviously water and air and things like this are not inventions. But if we're talking about things that have been invented by humans, and that could be things from the past, like the wheel, or something like the clock or something like that, telling time. Those are human inventions, or something more recent like an iPhone, or something regarding social media or something like that, right? And so it's going to go over what they think are the top 10 inventions of all time. The reason that I'm using this as my intro is because you're going to have to choose a specific invention, and you're going to have to use that as the topic of your research essay when we get to the ending of this activity. So I would like, as you'll see, each student to do their own topic. I would like each student to choose their own invention. I would not like a repeat of the same invention. So as you'll see, you're going to watch this video, you're going to think about it a little bit, and then you're going to hopefully send me an email and let me know which invention that you would like to do for your assignment, for your research essay. That's just to get you thinking. This is going to be your topic for the assignment. We'll come back to this later. As we continue on into the action of the lesson, you'll notice that it's going to go over the research process, and the research process is broken down into 4 steps. And essentially, you're going to go through these 4 steps when you put together your own research essay. So again, take a look at the 4-step research process. Part of, one of the steps is going to be finding research. And I think it's fair to say that most students use Google to find their research now. And so what you've got here is a little video that's going to give you some tricks that you can do when you're using Google to find better research. I am going to challenge you, and I am going to look at your sources that you use for your essay, and I'm going to challenge you to find good quality sources. And so this is going to give you some tips on how you can do that. You're going to use websites for your research. I know that. I know most students are going to use websites for their sources. And so here's another little explanation on how to evaluate websites after you find them, and how to decide whether you're looking at a website that is a good research source that your teacher is going to like and trust, or is it a site that is not trustworthy and your teacher is not going to like it? And so what you can do is you can take a look here at a website where they give you a checklist of things that you can look for to decide whether a website is a good or bad research source. And then there's a video here, which I think is really instructive, that's going to go over what makes a website a good research source. So I would take a look at the article, I would take a look at the video here, and you're going to use what you've learned when you conduct your own research, because you're going to have to find good quality websites for your essay. All right. We have citing your sources. So once you find your good quality research sources, and I'm going to challenge you to find 3 different research sources for your essay, you're going to have to properly cite those sources. And citations are what we put after quotations and paraphrases. So when you take a quotation or when you take a paraphrase, and I know most of you are coming to this course from OLC, from literacy. I know that they teach you how to do paraphrasing in OLC. So a paraphrase, though, is when you take a quote and you essentially turn it into your own words. So you're using somebody else's idea, but you're turning it into your own words. You're going to have a choice in this essay. You can use quotations or you can use paraphrases. Either way, you're going to have to cite your sources properly. And there's going to be an explanation about how you would use what we call APA citations or MLA citations. In English class, we use MLA. You will be taught APA, maybe in social science classes or in other types of classes. To be very honest with you, if you use APA or MLA, it's not really going to bother me as long as you're citing your sources in a professional, proper way. And so I would take a look at the websites provided to you here that show you how to do it. You can also look at something called the citation machine, which will help you come up with citations for your websites. And so that can help you as well too. But if you have any trouble, this is probably the most important bit of your research essay, is showing me that you understand how to properly cite research sources. When you go on to college or university, they're not going to teach you how to do this. They're going to expect you to be able to do it on your own. And if you do it wrong, you get accused of plagiarism or cheating, whichever word you want to use. And so it's very important that you get this right. If you have any trouble with it, if you have any questions, please let me know over the next 2 weeks as you're working on your essay, and I'll try to help you out. Okay? All right. I did provide for you at the bottom here a sample research essay. This essay is on a very simple topic, exercise. It's not the same as what you're doing. You're going to do a topic that's based on an invention. But this shows you the basics of a 5-paragraph research essay. So you'll see that there's an introduction, there's 3 body paragraphs, there's a conclusion, and you'll notice that in each one of the body paragraphs, there's at least one quote or paraphrase. So here we have a quote, and then we are given the author's last name after the quote. So in this case, the author's last name in brackets is McManus. Okay. In the second body paragraph, we have a paraphrase, and we have a paraphrase right here, and then we have the author's last name, Cronkleton. Okay. And then here in the third body paragraph, we don't have a one-person author. We don't have one person that wrote the article. We have a staff called the Mayo Clinic staff. And so we have a quote, and then again, the group that worked as the author. So you're going to have to show to me that you can have at least one quote or paraphrase in each of your body paragraphs, and that you can properly cite each of the quotes or paraphrases. And then, of course, you have a concluding paragraph right here. If you go down to the bottom, at the ending of a research essay, you always have what we call a works cited page. Sometimes students will just call this a reference list, or sometimes they'll call it a bibliography. I tend to like the term works cited because it's more specific. What you're saying is these are the sources, these are your research sources that you actually cited inside your essay. So you cited McManus, the author right here. And so then you have to write up a full reference for McManus. You have to give me the author's first name, last name. You have to give me the article title, the website title, the publishing company. You have to give me the date that it was updated or that it was published. You have to give me the www dot, and you have to give me the date that you were on the website, that you actually physically went to the website. The reason you have to give me the date that you went to the website is because what if the website changes between the date that you were there and the date that I go to visit the website? Okay, that's kind of your excuse. You can say, well, maybe they changed it if it's not the same thing as you said it was about. Okay, so anyway, long story short, here you have to give me at least 3 sources. So you have to give me at least 3 references at the ending of your research essay, and all 3 of those sources should be properly cited inside your essay at least once. There has to be a direct connection between the quotes and paraphrases that you're citing inside your essay and the works cited references at the end. Okay, so this is what sort of a basic essay would look like. It would have 5 paragraphs. It would have quotations or paraphrases in the body paragraphs, and it would have a works cited page listing the references at the end. So this is what I'm challenging you to do, okay? And if we click on the assignment, we can get into it. So for your assignment, you're going to, I'm calling it Important Invention Essay. And it's 60 marks, but that really doesn't mean much. It could be out of anything. It's going to be turned into 10% of your final grade. Whichever course you take in high school, there's always 2 parts to the final assessment. And our final assessment is the final exam, which is 20%, and this essay, which is 10%. So it is a big part of your grade. It's certainly not as valuable as your final exam in a few weeks, but it is important. Okay, so I've broken it up into steps. Okay, and it is due on Friday, June 5th. So it's due in a couple of weeks. Your first step is to choose a topic. You're going to have to choose an invention that has changed society. It could be an invention from the distant past. It could be an invention from relatively recently. But I would like you to choose a topic that is personally your own. I don't want to read 5 different essays on the same topic. So I think it would be in your best interest to let me know what topic you've chosen sometime this week. And you can just send me an email and say, this is the topic I'd like to do. And I'll respond back and maybe give you some thoughts on how you can do it. Okay. Note that the purpose is to make an argument. So your goal is to explain to me how that invention changed society, either positively, negatively, or maybe it both. Maybe it was positive and negative. So for example, just to think of something off the top of my head, if you were doing nuclear power as your invention, well, nuclear power has clearly had both positive and negative impacts on the world. So you could write about both. You could say that the invention has had a tremendous positive and negative impact, right? You can look at both sides. I'm not forcing you to say all positive or all negative. That depends on you. But you have to have an opinion. You have to have an argument. Has this invention changed society positively, negatively, or somewhere in the middle? And keep in mind that you are focused on the invention, not the inventor. So if you're going to look at the telephone can be a lot of different things, I would say, because there's been a lot of different inventions along the way. But you're not writing about Alexander Graham Bell. You might mention him in your essay, but he's not the focus of your essay. The focus of the essay is the invention, not the inventor. Okay. So once you've chosen your topic, the invention that you'd like to write about, you're going to have to research that topic. And the goal is to find 3 high quality websites which contain information on that invention. If you want to find more than 3, that's okay, but I only need 3. The websites should help you prove how the invention has impacted society. You should copy information that you will need to cite and reference the websites. So you'll have to know the author's name, the article title, the website title, the publisher, the date, the web address. I've often had students find really good websites that they'd like to use, and they'll come back to me the day after they found them and say, I can't remember where the website is. I don't know where I found it. So number one, you can bookmark your websites, but number two, you can write down this information so that when you use a quote or a paraphrase from that website, you know how you're going to cite it and write the reference. Okay. All right. Once you found your research and started to put it together and start to analyze and think about what you want to write about, you're going to create a 3-point thesis, which is going to be the basis of your entire essay. And the 3-point thesis, as you'll see in the content of this activity, the 3-point thesis goes at the ending of your introduction, and it establishes your opinion and your 3 main points. So you've done something like this before, I'm sure, in OLC and possibly in ESL classes or in grade 11 English classes. You've had to write 3-point thesis statements before, I'm sure. But if you have any trouble with this, please let me know. But you're going to write a 1-sentence 3-point thesis statement which establishes whether the invention you're talking about has had a positive or negative impact on society. Again, it could have both. And then you give me 3 supporting reasons. So nuclear power has had a tremendous impact on society because 1, 2, 3, those are your 3 points, right? Or whatever it is your invention is. Those 3 points, by the way, those 3 supporting points are going to be the basis of your 3 body paragraphs. So it's important that you have 3 points, not 4 points, not 2 points, but 3 clear supporting points so that you can come up with the 5-paragraph structure. Once you've got your thesis, once you've got your research, you can fill out a 5-paragraph research outline. And this is your rough work. This is not the completed essay. This is your rough work. But if we take a look, if you open this up, it'll take you to a page where it asks you to make your own copy. And if you make your own copy, it'll open up a Google Doc. And what you're going to do is you're going to fill this in, and you can use point form, but you've got an introduction paragraph. And to be honest with you, when I used to do research essays, I would do the introduction and the concluding paragraphs last because I thought it would be, I think it's easier to write the body paragraphs and to know what your essay is about and then do the introduction and the conclusion. But what you've got here is space for 4 sentences. Your introduction could be a little bit longer if you like, but it doesn't need to be very long. The body paragraphs is the meat of your essay. But you've got 4 sentences to introduce your topic, and you're going to hit me with your 3-point thesis as the 4th and final sentence of your introduction here. Okay. Then you've got body paragraph 1. So you're going to take the first point from your thesis and restate it using hopefully slightly different words. You're going to list body points that you're going to use to support this topic sentence. And then you're going to list a quote or a paraphrase that you think you can use in this paragraph. And then you're going to do the same thing for body paragraph 2. You're going to take the second point from your thesis. You're going to hopefully slightly restate, use slightly different words and restate it. You're going to give body points to support it. You're going to give a quote or a paraphrase from your research. And then one more time, you've got your third point from your thesis goes in your topic sentence. You've got supporting points or body points that are going to back up that topic sentence. And then you've got a quote or a paraphrase. Again, this is just meant as rough work. It's not meant as a fully fleshed out paragraph. You're just making points and you're just coming up with the content for each of your body paragraphs. And then you've got a conclusion. You're going to restate the thesis. I know it's kind of tricky, but hopefully somewhat using different language again. You're going to restate your thesis in the first sentence of your conclusion. And then you've got a few more sentences. You do not need a long conclusion. Most of your work is in the body paragraphs, but you're going to have a couple of sentences to wrap up. And the best way to wrap up an essay is to try to leave the reader thinking, is try to put something at the end, the final sentence of your essay, that leaves the reader thinking. One thing I would say that I didn't mention, if we go back to the top, in your introduction, a really good way of opening your introduction is trying to open with a, I know in some other classes they call it a hook, but you want to open with something to grab attention. So maybe a quote, a question, a really bold fact or statistic that would grab attention. You usually want to start your introduction with something that can grab attention. Okay. One thing I would say too about the introduction is be careful. What I find is that students have their 3-point thesis and they put it in at the ending of their introduction correctly. But then what they do is they essentially repeat that 3-point thesis over and over again. So I get like 4 sentences in the introduction that are all saying the same thing. You have to find a way to creatively introduce your topic and then hit me with your overall argument at the ending of the introduction. You don't want to start with your 3-point thesis here, because then you have nowhere else to go in your follow-up sentences. Okay. All right, and then there is a spot at the very end here where you can put your works cited. So you can write out your works cited and make sure that you're doing that correctly. Author's last name and first name, the article title, the website title, the publisher, the date updated, the www dot, and the date visited. So you can, again, see an example of that in our in the Unit 4 Activity 1 activity. All right, if we go back to the assignment page. So you've created your 5-paragraph essay outline. The next step is to actually write your 5-paragraph essay. So again, remember that your 5-paragraph essay has to be typed and edited directly in Google Docs, right? And so what I would do, so if I just go back to the outline here for a second, I would open up a new Google Doc. I've got a blank page, and whatever my topic is, nuclear power essay, and I would just start typing my 5-paragraph essay into a blank Google Doc. And again, you have to show me that you can type your essay directly into this document. There is tools that I have right here that I have to look at that tell me if you're copying and pasting your work, that show me how long you were typing and how many times you came to this page and how many revisions you made. And I can click here and I can watch essentially a video of you typing your essay. So it's very important that you show me that you're typing in your own words in your own Google Doc, that you're not copying and pasting into this document. Okay. If we go back, sorry. I just realized I wasn't showing you the new Google Doc page here. So all I did was opened up a new Google Doc, and I put nuclear power essay as my title, and I would type my 5-paragraph essay right in here. Again, I can see if you're doing large copies and how many revisions and how long you're typing. So again, it's very important that you show me that you're typing on your own in a new Google Doc. Okay. Any questions about that, please email me, let me know. All right, so again, you're typing out your 5-paragraph research essay into a Google Doc. What I'm gonna ask you to do, I'm gonna ask you to include a title page with this information, a title. You can call the essay whatever you like, your name, the date, so you can put June 5th as your date, that's the due date, the course code, so ENG4C. So this is a research essay. This is the type of assignment that you'd have to do in university and college. I usually don't ask for title pages, but when you go on to university or college, they're going to ask for a proper title page. So I will ask you to include a title page. I'll send you. I'll send everyone an example of the. I'll email you an example of the exercise essay that I showed you as an example, and you'll see the title page that comes with it. So I'll give you an example of a title page. You should have an introduction that's at least 4 sentences. You should have a 3-point thesis statement at the ending of your introduction. You should have 3 body paragraphs with approximately 8 to 12 sentences each. You should have at least 3 quotations or paraphrases, so at least 1 in each of the body paragraphs. You should properly cite your quotes and paraphrases. You should include a conclusion with approximately 4 sentences, and you should include a works cited page with at least 3 references. Aside from quotes from your research sources, of course, you must use your own words when you're typing your essay. Just remember to revise and edit your research essay. Go over it, make sure that everything is done properly, and then when you're ready, you can submit it to the Dropbox. And so as always, you can find the Dropbox right here, or you can go up to submissions and find the Dropbox there. I do have the rubric. This is what I will use to grade your essay, so you can take a look at the rubric if you'd like as well too. Remember, it is due on Friday, June 5th, so this is not a 1-week assignment like most of our assignments are. You do have this week and next week to complete it. Okay. Please, any questions at all, send me an email. This is a very important assignment, and it is our last assignment. So if there's any trouble, please let me know. Other than that, have a good week. I appreciate your patience if you made it to the ending of this very long video tutorial.